Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Israel Brief, brought to you by Lay of the Land. I'm Rolene Marks, and I bring you those top stories making headlines from Israel every Monday to Thursday. So let's take a look at the top stories before we head into the weekend. And today is International Holocaust Memorial Day. Now, this is a day that's different to Yom HaShoah, which is Holocaust Memorial Day in Israel. The 27th of January every year has been a date designated by the United Nations to spend in remembrance, memorial, and very importantly, education about the Holocaust and crimes of genocide. Now, this particular day looks at the genocide of over 6 million Jews, as well as Sinti and Roma, LGBTQ, disabled and other people who were deemed undesirables by the Nazi murderous regime. This is different to Yom HaShoah, or Holocaust Memorial Day in Israel, which looks at and honors specifically Jewish victims of the Holocaust. Now, the 27th of January is significant because it is the anniversary of the Red Army's liberation of the Auschwitz death camp. Yom HaShoah, however, coincides with the start of the Warsaw Ghetto uprising. So how is International Holocaust Memorial Day observed throughout the world? Well, world leaders have paid tribute or addressed issues around the Holocaust in their various parliaments throughout the course of the day. In the United Kingdom, both sides of parliament have discussed and paid tribute to victims of the Holocaust, as has the heir to the throne, Prince Charles. In Germany, our chairman of the Knesset, Miki Levy, addressed the Bundestag and broke out in tears when he recited the Kaddish, which is the traditional prayer for the dead. Our foreign minister, Yair Lapid, is at Sachsenhausen concentration camp in Austria with the Austrian chancellor there, and I'm sure we will hear soon how America is commemorating International Holocaust Memorial Day. A truly extraordinary event is taking place with the Simon Wiesenthal Center and the Kingdom of Bahrain. Their Holocaust Memorial Day is being addressed by President Herzog, as well as former Chief Rabbi Meir Lau, who is one of our most treasured and most famous Holocaust survivors. And we know that various dignitaries from Israel are addressing memorial events throughout the world. Today is also a day where Holocaust survivors are able to give their testimony with a lot more concentration and a lot more emphasis. Survivors have taken to various social media forums to share their first-hand accounts, their harrowing and heartbreaking stories of survival. Many Holocaust survivors are addressing businesses, forums, government forums, parliaments all around the world in order to ensure that the Holocaust is always remembered and never forgotten. Today, more than ever, it is an imperative that we teach about the Holocaust and the series of events that led up to the genocide of nearly 3/4 of Europe's Jews. We also can't forget that there were other victims of the Holocaust as well, those who were deemed as racially undesirable or socially undesirable, who were also exterminated by the Nazi murder machine. But it is the Jewish community today that feels the weight of this. In recent days, we have seen results of various surveys carried out which show that anti-Semitism is at the highest levels it has been in decades around the world. And even a survey conducted here in Israel by Hebrew University shows that Israelis don't have much hope for the future of Jews in Europe as anti-Semitism rises. The World Zionist Organization and Jewish Agency released their survey, which shows that 2021 was the most anti-Semitic year in over a decade, with on average at least 10 anti-Semitic incidents taking place around the world every single day. And as somebody who works in the news and information sphere, there is not a day that goes by where I don't see accounts of anti-Semitism wherever they may occur. I just don't report them on this forum because we have limited time, which shows you just how many acts are happening around the world. And while we're on the subject of anti-Semitism and talking about International Holocaust Memorial Day, our second major headline goes back to the United Kingdom. Now, for weeks we have been speaking about the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation, the state-sponsored broadcaster, and their coverage of the Hanukkah attack. This took place on the first night of Hanukkah in November, where Jewish youth were verbally and almost physically attacked by a group of Yobs. Now, the BBC in their initial report said that the youth on board the bus made an anti-Muslim slur. This has been investigated by the London Metropolitan Police as well as two independent forensic investigators. And it was found that the Hebrew words Tikra lemeshu zedachuf are not actually anti-Muslim slurs, but rather a call for help. Well, the state regulator Ofcom announced last night that they will be launching an investigation into the BBC and their coverage. This follows a partial apology by the BBC, who say that they are apologizing for the partial way, or they're only partially apologizing rather for how the facts were reported. They have not taken responsibility or accountability or apologized in full for the fact that they misrepresented the facts. In fact, essentially, they blamed the victims. They also accused or said that the Community Security Trust had verified that the Tikra lemeshu zedachuf was an anti-Muslim slur. Now, the Community Services Trust or Community Security Trust or CST have come out and said they vehemently deny that they did not say that and that the BBC are misrepresenting them. Either way, it is starting to get very, very ugly. And when a situation like this is escalated as high as Ofcom, you know that this is pretty serious. In other news, Turkish President Recep Erdogan announced that the impending visit by Israeli President Isaac Herzog to Ankara next month will herald a new dawn of relations between the two countries. Ties between Israel and Turkey have soured significantly since 2010's Mavi Marmara incident. However, in recent months, we have seen a warming of ties. We have seen an increase in the amount of rapprochement or dialogue, not just between President Herzog and President Erdogan, but also Prime Minister Bennett and President Erdogan, as well as our two foreign ministers. And we really, really hope that ties will warm up even further, as Turkey does play a significant role in the region. And funny, I should say that because Turkish President Erdogan reckons that Israel has a vital role to play in the region. And for the last couple of days, we've been talking about Storm Elpis and its approach to Israel, and it's brought with it freezing weather and a lot of rainfall. But Jerusalem last night turned from Jerusalem of gold to Jerusalem of snow. Snow has fallen in Jerusalem and in the northern parts of the Golan, which is blanketed in snow. In fact, you could be forgiven for thinking that maybe you were in Canada. Very, very exciting for us here in Israel, and very exciting for Israeli children in the north or in Jerusalem, because schools have been closed, the roads into Jerusalem have been closed, and Jerusalem residents have been enjoying their fun in the snow. So those are our top stories. Don't forget to check out our original content online at www.layoftheland.online. We've got articles covering International Holocaust Memorial Day by the Holocaust Education Trust and their director, Karen Pollock. We have an article by Dave Kaplan, one of our co-founders, and Chief Nazi hunter Ephraim Zurov. We are also on Facebook at Luttel Site. I see our numbers are going up, and we would love it if you help us get them up even more. If you're viewing this on YouTube, please consider liking our content, sharing our content, and subscribing so that we can get as much coverage from Israel as possible. And of course, we're on Twitter at Lay of the Land 5. So that brings us to a close for this week, but don't forget to join us on Monday as I bring you your top stories from Israel. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe and healthy, everybody, and Shabbat Shalom wherever you are.